back. Once again, adventurers, to Let's Play ChäoS Child. And in the last episode, in the place of Nono Kurisu, it was instead Uki Yamazoe who stumbled upon the sight of Takuru Miyashiro, Shinji Itou, and the grisly, bloody corpse that used to be Yui Tanabachi. In her anguish and grief, Uki drew her D-sword and attempted to cut down Shinji Itou. But little does she realize that Itou himself is a puppet, that his actions have been masterminded by none other than the person, one of the few people that she trusts most. For if Uki Yamazoe ever knew the true nature of Wataru Sakuma, that knowledge would be yet another burden on top of the pile of tragedies that she has already borne witness to. And on that subject, just as Uki was about to cut down Shinji Itou, Takuru intervened, knowing full well that Itou's actions were not his own. Unfortunately, by doing so, Takuru inadvertently put himself directly in the path of Uki's blade, and as such is grievously, if not mortally wounded, which will add even more burdens of emotional trauma to Uki Yamazoe's psyche. Also in the last episode, Takuru succumbed to his injuries, thus leaving nobody to protect Uki from Shinji's wrath, or rather Sakuma's wrath through Itou. Perhaps things might yet turn out differently. Maybe Takuru can hold on long enough to have some... Sorry about that. Anyway, as I was saying, hopefully Takuru can hold on long enough to actually get out of the situation that he's in. Or maybe Uki might actually be able to help him after all. My vision began to quickly turn black. I could feel my heart pounding fast, but my lungs must not have been working anymore, because I was no longer getting any fresh oxygen. Yeah, that's what happens when you're stabbed by a sword, especially a D-sword. And then I saw nothing at all. And the moment when I crossed the boundary into death was upon me. And there it is, butterfly, an unconscious erosion of self-indulgent kindness.
おーい、タク？ねえってば。
Of course. There is one person that I almost completely forgot would not let Takuru Miyashiro slip into the great oblivion, the great beyond. Without a pertinent reason, so soon, that is.
こんなところで寝ると風邪ひくわよ。
Wait a minute. Kurisu's here as well? Hmm. Or maybe Takuru is having a final last moments reminiscence. Although then again, there is anyone who would intervene on Takuru Miyashira's behalf to save him from dying prematurely. It is Serika Inoue, even if it is for her own quote-unquote reasons.
タクルに起きなよ。
Yeah, this is a memory. It has to be. The first things I saw when I opened my eyes were the grain of the wooden table and my drool spilling all over it. I raised my head and looked around. Where are we? I mean, the dorm. Everyone was looking at me as I sat spaced out in a chair in the dining room table. This, yeah, this is all too convenient for my liking. Far too convenient.
Yui!
Yeah, why is Yui Tanabachi here? I leapt up, grabbed Yui by her tiny little shoulders and shook her. Of course I could touch her body and it was warm. She wasn't a ghost. Something strange is going on here. This is far, far too convenient.
Yui! お前、なんで生きてんだ?
Something is not adding up here.
ちょっとタク？よしなさいってば、一体どうしたの？
This seems like a normal situation at first glance, except given what we just experienced, this is anything but normal.
どうしたって、ユイが殺されたんだ!
I'm tempted to go out on a limb here and maybe posit the idea that somehow we have slipped into another world line. Maybe? Somehow. I doubt it, but... Of course, there is one final theory that is lurking at the back of my mind. A theory that, given everything that we have experienced up until this point, is probably more likely than all the others. I don't want to give voice to the theory.
私生きてるよ。ほら。
you say that, but I don't want to give voice to the theory, but it's, something tells me that said theory is ultimately going to play itself out.
でも伊藤がナイフで
Multiple knives.
え、犯人俺かよ。
Part of me wants to hold on to this moment. I really do. But another part of me refuses to let go of the idea that all this, everything that we're currently experiencing. Oh, I said I wouldn't say it. It's only gonna make it worse. Itou glared at me, clearly annoyed.
勘弁してくれ。いくら寝ぼけてるったって悪趣味だぞお前。
We didn't imply that it was funny, because it isn't.
寝ぼけって
I'm not buying it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sold on this. I let go of Yui's shoulders and took another look at my little sister. She is wearing a scowling expression on her face. There were no cuts on her pure white skin, and there was no blood on her clothes.
もしかして夢
It's tempting to hold on to that
当
notion.
たり前だろ。
Far too tempting to hold on to that notion.
どうして私が殺されなくちゃいけないの？
I don't know. Why would Wataru Sakuma manipulate Shinji Itou to murder Yui Tanabachi? This really is getting a bit too much, to be perfectly honest, even for me, especially for me, of all people. This is really grounding my heart into tiny little pieces. It was so real, though. I could even smell of blood and guts. That's because it was. I could still remember the pain of being cut by the D-sword. I closed my eyes tight and ran my fingers along my temples. And then I opened my eyes again, slowly. What are we going to see? What will happen when we finally gaze back out into the world? Everything was fine. So why are there still alarm bells ringing in my head and my heart? That nightmare was nowhere to be seen. If only existence were so very convenient. I leaned back into the chair.
そうだよな。伊藤がユイを殺す理由なんて。
No, there is no way that Shinji Itou would murder Yui Tanabachi on purpose, deliberately. Unless... For a moment, the name Senri Minamisawa flashed through my mind, but I quickly shook my head to drive it away. Yeah, at this point in time, Riko Haida is the sixth victim of Sakuma's recreation of the new generation madness, along with Serika, of course. And Yuri was supposed to be the final victim. Sorry, the sixth victim, I should say. The idea that Itou knew Senri and was after revenge was just a delusion. There was no reason to think that it was real. I hate to break it to you, Takuru, but you're not entirely wrong, albeit not for the reasons you currently believe.
びっくりだよ。みんな緊張して時間が過ぎるのを待ってたのに。
So you say, but yeah, before this happened, memory serves, before this happened, I believe Detective Shinjo called Takuru to say that Riko had actually been murdered, precisely on the time schedule that that you right here, and Sakuma had orchestrated, thus alerting us to the fact that the murders were not over so soon after Riko's death.
Miyashiro先輩だけ居眠りしてるんだから。
So that begs the question as to what in the nine hells and Stygian abyss is going on.
そっか。悪かったな。
ことがあったから疲れてるのよ。変な夢もそのせいだと思うわ。お父さんに見てもらう？
I honestly do not want to face Wataru Sakuma again after everything that's happened.
もう大丈夫。
I realized that there was a thick sheen of sweat on my forehead and wiped it away with my sleeve.
それより今何時だ？事件は？
Itou shrugged and shook his head.
午前0時なんてとうに過ぎたよ。何も起きてない。
Again, all kinds of wrongness here.
何も？
I looked at the clock and saw that it was a new day. That also reminds me, at this moment in time, both Kurisu and Yui were in the sights of the media on account of Senri's name being leaked to the press, along with those details of Senri and Kurisu's past. Yeah, which is why we came here in the first place.
ああ、これで間違いない。事件はすべて終わったんだ。
It's not over just yet. Otherwise, why would Kurisu and Senri's details be leaked? It's far too convenient.
Takuru?
And it's only just dawning on me now that there is one person who I don't believe we've actually seen. I mean, we caught a glimpse of most of the other people, but there is one other person who we actually haven't had a glimpse of in this situation. And I'm not talking about Sakuma.
でも新庄さんからの電話だと。
Yeah, we have no reason to doubt Shinjo's information. It was urgent, and it was crucial. That's right, there'd been a murder on the 23rd too. Which meant that the return of the new generation madness was still continuing. Which it is.
新庄さんの電話って？
Yeah, something's not adding up, because I'm more than pretty sure that Takuru was with some of the others when he got that call.
Huh?
Yeah, there it is.
何のことだ？
Yeah. Had a gut feeling about this. There it is. The penny drops. Yeah. The fact that none of you know about the fact that Detective Shinjo phoned at this particular moment. Very suspicious. Everyone seemed surprised. I took the smartphone out of my pocket and I checked the call history. It was gone. Shinjo had never called. Again, I would say Steingate vibes, but yeah, we're not in that situation.
あの電話も夢だったのか。
If only. If only. I sighed again and sat back in the chair. All the strength had drained from my body. I see. Of course, it is the 29th. So the return of new generation madness. Don't be so sure. Was really over. But is it?
ねえタク、本当に平気？やっぱり見てもらった方が。
Something really bizarre is going on here. Also, Wajru Sakuma is not, I repeat, not Takuru Miyashiro's father or guardian under any circumstance whatsoever.
だから大丈夫だって。クルスが言った通り疲れてるだけだからって顔が近い。
I could tell she was worried, but Serika's face was just too close to me. I pushed it away. And then I realized.
山添は？
Yeah. Where is Uki? I couldn't see her anywhere. Yet another point of suspicion in this entire situation. I remembered how her face had been twisted with despair when she'd attacked Itou in my dream. Even if I knew it wasn't real, I was still worried. Oh, Takuru.
ウキちゃん？ウキちゃんなら今佐久間先生に呼ばれてお手伝いを。
「 That is a red flag in my book. Definite
あの、
red flag.
宮代さん、何か。
Huh. Oh, there she is, Uki Yamazoe. She must have just finished because she peeked through the door at exactly that moment. She was tiny and frail, but a lot more cheerful than she'd been before. There was nothing particularly out of the ordinary about her. And yet the situation is anything but ordinary. I was relieved. Well, you might be, Takuru, but I'm certainly not. I don't trust this.
いや、別に。
そうですか。皆さん、何か飲み物はいかがですか？あ、私、グレープフルーツジュースがいいな。
俺はコーヒー。
オレンジジュース。宮代さんはいつものでいいですか？マウンテン、何でしたっけ？いえ、ちょっとダメよみんな。ウキちゃんはメイドじゃないんだから。我が家はセルフサービスです。いえ、いいんです。私がやりたいんですから。
Well, Uki is doing what she does, which is trying to be useful to everybody. Yamazoe went around and asked everyone what they wanted, then went to the kitchen. As if none of what transpired ever happened. That bothers me. That bothers me immensely. There was nothing different about her at all. So why? Before long I could hear the tea kettle bubbling cheerfully in the kitchen. Several days passed. In the end, nothing happened on October 28th. The return of the new generation madness had ended with the death of the woman responsible. Of course, Riko's death was no suicide. She realized that she couldn't escape the police and set herself on fire. Or maybe she had help from a certain someone. That's what everyone from the TV media to the internet was saying.
けどそれって事実なのか？
You're right to be suspicious. Something didn't seem right. This is the sort of thing that usually drove people I despised most on the internet, the wrong-siders who pretended to be right-siders, into an uproar. I didn't mind the ones who made aggregator pages filled with their own personal theories, but some of them would always try to connect everything to the most ridiculous conspiracy theories. Though in the case of Riko's death, Shinjo and the police actually did a pretty decent job of keeping a low profile there. And the worst were the ones who would post information about the killer, and not just the killer herself, But her family and relatives and say all kind of terrible, unfounded things about them. Yeah, like the stuff that was said about Kurisu and Kawahara, which is precisely the reason why we all gathered together at Aoba Dorm to begin with.
でも
Yeah, you need to start connecting the threads together, Takuru. But this time that hadn't happened. So you believe. No information was available at all, except for what was in the police announcement. It was as if someone was censoring everything, or keeping that information from you specifically. And not only the students at the school and the people of Shibuya, but even the guys on our channel were already losing interest and starting to talk about other things. Even if there were a lot of things competing for people's attention these days.
いくらなんでも早すぎないか
Yeah, it's very abrupt. But everyone was already starting to talk about a new event. The Shibuya Restoration Festival was coming up soon.
ちょっとタクル
Yeah, one final point that I would like to make mention of. We learned something about Tanabachi, which is another reason why we flocked over to Aoba Dorm on that evening. Because prior to her death, Riko Haida had assaulted the dorm and specifically had gone after Yui Tanabachi herself. And thanks to her interactions with Uki, Yui was revealed to be a gigalomaniac herself. Whether or not she's manifested a D-sword is another matter entirely, but she can see them. And her gigalomaniac power is connected to her younger brother, Itou. Yeah. As I stared at the map, I suddenly heard a bone-chilling voice from behind me. Terrified, I turned around. Kurisu was standing there, eyebrows raised. Ever the Empress.
何を考えてるのかしら
Nothing untoward, I can assure you.
何ってその
まさか事件のことじゃないわよね。もう解決したんだから、あとは専門家に任せなさいって言ったはずだけど。
And about the fact that Yui is also a gigalomaniac as well. Explain that one.
いや僕だってこの事件に関しては専門家
Again, to be fair, you're not wrong.
これ以上首を突っ込むようならわかってるわよね。
In the past, you've always been adamant that Takuru not get involved, Nano Kurisu. But this attitude right here, never once have you ever acted in such a manner towards Takuru Miyashiro. And that too is another warning sign in my mind. That something is not right with this situation. Her face was as terrifying as any creature from my worst nightmares. Well, I knew why she was so mad. She was really worried about me. No one's going to be worried about Yui? Not a mention whatsoever? And I knew that after what happened to her friend Senri Minamisawa, she was probably crying when she was alone. Yeah. Or in that phone call that supposedly never happened from Shinjo, Shinjo had actually mentioned the fact that the person who he believed was Senri Minamisawa was in fact a completely different person altogether.
けどもうちょっと優しく言ってくれたってな。
But given that lack of information at this juncture, yeah. Also again, yeah. Kurisu's attitude right here is far more threatening than I would have given her credit for.
このくらい叱らないと言うこと聞かないでしょあなたは。
I don't know about you, but I'm choosing to listen to my gut feeling. How could she tell what I was thinking? Was she a psychic too? The answer to that, Takuru Miyashiro, is also yes.
何度も言わせないで。タクルの考えてることなんてお見通し。顔にすぐ出るもの。
あ、そうですか。
とにかくそのマップ処分させてもらうわ。邪魔で仕方ないし。
It's a little premature to get rid of it. Just saying. Kurisu put up her hand to the map on the board to rip it off. You might want to read it first before you do that.
お手伝いします。
And there's Uki. Uki had been standing in the corner of the room, staring up in wonder at everything she saw. She quickly dashed over to Kurisu.
助かるわウキちゃん。そっち側持っててくれる？
I get the feeling that the sneaking suspicion that someone or something doesn't want us to keep our mind on the case. And again, it's not Sakuma this time. They ripped down the map I'd spent so many hours on and folded it up neatly. Notepads and all.
ああ。
何？
いや、その。
文句があるなら正当な理由を納得できるように述べて。
The fact that Yui was in danger of being murdered by Rico?
いえ、なんでもないです。すみません。
Now's not the time to be a pushover, Takuru.
タクは相変わらず弱いね。情けないね。ヘタレだね。
I really don't want to agree with Sarika with anything. Not after everything that's happened. But I have to take her side on this. God damn it, Chaos Child. Making me agree with Sarika, no way. She's not wrong. She's not wrong.
本当です。がっかりです。幻滅です。
Harimura was occupying a corner of the big table as she read a brainless fashion magazine. Kazuki was at her computer playing SO2 like always.
僕が弱いんじゃないからな。クルスが強すぎるんだからな。
タクルってば、よっぽど私に怒られるのが好きなのね。
He called you strong, Kurusu. He actually gave you a compliment.
そんなことないです。すみません。
I shrank back and averted my eyes from the Empress, thus proving everyone's point. God damn it. As for why Arimoto and Yamazoe were here, they both joined the newspaper club as of today. Yamazoe wasn't a student at Heikyo until now, but after the case was solved, she'd been allowed to enroll at the Academy's middle school. Again, why does the Academy have a middle school here? Doesn't make any sense. It's like saying a university has a middle school.
Oh?
And there's Shinji. Itou came into the room and walked over to me, eyes shining. He motioned for me to lean in.
なんだよ。
部室の中の女子率が超高え。つうか、宮代が邪魔。
You know, Kurusu is standing right next to us. And we'll give, yeah. You know what? I'm actually not going to say anything.
邪魔で悪かったな。
なんか部屋全体がすげえいい匂いするし、新聞部とは思えねえ。
Also hard to believe that Takuru ever became friends with you in the first place, Shinji.
全国の新聞部の皆さんに謝れ。
俺にもついに彼女とかできそうな気がするよ。
Not if Kurusu has anything to say about it.
間違いなく気のせいだぞそれ。
なになに？こそこそ何の話してるの
Sarika put down her magazine and looked at us. Once again, I'm just going to reiterate just how unnatural this whole situation is.
ああ、次の新聞は何をトップ記事にしようかって相談だ。
You don't say.
ダウト。伊藤先輩は嘘をついています。
Yeah, can't fool Arimoto's powers.
そんなことないぞ。なあ、宮代。
You're on your own, Shinji. Good luck with that.
無駄だ。
Even Takuru
ひ
knows
なちゃん
better.
に嘘ついてもバレバレだよ。
俺って学習能力ねえ。
Correct the Mondo.
先輩たちってばひどい。私をネタにしてやらしい話をしてたんですね。
You know, at this point, if we actually say no to that question, we would actually be telling the truth.
それはしてない。
いてます。やっぱり私を使ってあんな想像やこんな妄想を。
Now you are the one who is lying, and I, Arimura. Arimura covered her chest and thighs with her hands. Very dramatically.
ちょっとタクル、伊藤くん。
だから違うって。
I quickly ran over to Arimura.
お前、誤解を招くようなこと言うな。クルスが本気で切れたら何されるかわからないだろう。
思いっきり聞こえてるわよ。
Yeah, I think it's safe to say we're doomed. Definitely doomed. See, look how she's glaring at me. I scowled at Arimura and she giggled. Yeah, she knows exactly what she's doing.
前から思ってたんですけど、宮代先輩とクルス先輩ってなんか。
Pour salt in the wound, why don't you? Because why not?
何？
Of course, if you're not careful, Hanai, you might be the one to suffer Kurisu's wrath.
夫婦みたいですね。
Oh, it was nice knowing you, Hanai.
はあ？
Both Kurisu and I turned to her in shock.
恐ろしい妻のご機嫌を気にしていつもビクビクしてるダメな夫って感じで。
Yeah, just keep digging that grave, why don't you?
誰が恐ろしい妻なの？
妙なこと口走るのやめろ。恐ろしいの部分は同意するが。
And then you just had to put your foot into it. Once again. She punched me. She punched me right in the stomach.
うわー、痛そう。
Kazuki pointed to the screen as I writhed on the ground, holding my stomach. In absolute pain.
お前までなんだよ。
Now this is the first time that Kazuki has ever typed something to express what she's feeling. And then I heard a tiny laugh. Well, at least you're finding this all enjoyable. I looked around in surprise. She was laughing. She wasn't very loud, but Uki was laughing happily. Everyone looked at her in surprise. Yamazoe realized that everyone was looking at her, and her face suddenly turned bright red.
ほら、もっと笑って笑って。ウキちゃん、いつもそうやって笑顔でいるといいわ。かわいい。
Oh, now you've done it. Maybe she'd never heard that before. She didn't seem to know what to do.
ゴミを捨てに行ってきます。
She grabbed the garbage can, which wasn't particularly full, and ran out into the hallway. Yeah, she's not... Yeah, still not used to ordinary situations. Given the fact that she was pretty much raised in that underground facility for most of her life. Well, yeah, excluding the fact that she went to the same middle school as Yui. Everyone smiled as we watched her go.
あれは卑怯だ。不良少年がちょっといいことするとすげえいい人に見えるのと同じだ。騙されちゃいけないですよ、先輩。
いや、山添は騙そうと思ってるわけじゃないからな。
このままだと新聞部のアイドルの座が危ない。
I didn't think you cared.
新聞部のアイドルは私だよ。簡単にこの座は明け渡さないから。
Yeah, ditto. Didn't think you cared.
ほほう、いいでしょう。勝負です、セリ。望むところだ。
いや、お前らさ。
My head started to hurt. Yamazoe was one thing, but maybe letting Arimura join had been a mistake. With the case finished, the newspaper club was finally about to get back to work again. But at this rate, we wouldn't be able to get through a planning meeting.
やっぱり何にも決まらなかった。
An hour later, it was time to go home, and Wakui, the club advisor, kicked us out. Yeah, less time we spend interacting with him, the better. We decided to pick the topic for our next paper at a later meeting, and everyone headed home. It just feels completely
だから
wrong.
ね、何度も言ってるけど、渋谷復興祭の裏側を取材して、そのレポートをすればいいじゃない。私もそれがいいと思うな。楽しそうだし。
異議なし。ミスコンとかもあるらしいぜ。ぜひ裏側を取材させてほしいものですな。
You do know you just said that out loud.
やっぱり伊藤先輩ってそういう人なんですね。金輪際、私に近づかないでくださいね。
She says when she's standing less than 3 feet from him.
君は冗談も通じんのか？
だから嘘をついてもわかります。冗談で言ってないですよね。
She got you there. Itou and Arimura were about to get going again, so I interrupted.
復興祭のレポートとかそんなのどこでもやるだろう。僕はやっぱりニュージェネの狂気の再来事件の検証をちゃんとすべきだと思う。なんか気になるんだよ。
Yeah. This might upset Kurisu to no end. But you should trust that gut feeling, Takuru.
もちろんその南沢千里さんのこととかはうまくぼかして隠し。
I made my suggestion, trying to be as delicate to Kurisu as possible, but
しつこいなお前も。あれはもういいって。それこそあっちこっちのサイトでやってるだろ。
私もそう思いますよ。というかぶっちゃけ思い出したくないですし。
well, personally neither do I, but there are some things that we shouldn't just sweep under the rug. Even Itou, who was so excited during the case, and Arimura, who was a part of it, were opposed. We had the same discussion during our meeting at school and got nowhere.
和樹はどうだ？僕の意見をどう思う？
Did you say something? She seemed to say. That wasn't going to work. It was possible she hadn't even heard what we were talking about. Maybe.
じゃあ山添は？
I turned around towards Yamazoe, who was all the way in the back. She seemed surprised, as if she hadn't expected anyone to ask her opinion. Her eyes started from left to right.
私は別に皆さんの決めたものでいいです。
絵が決まらないから聞いてるんだけどな。
すみません。
She probably thought I was mad at her, because she shrank back a little.
ダメだよタク。ウキちゃんをいじめちゃ。
いじめてないって。彼女だってもう新聞部員なんだ。意見があるならちゃんと尊重したいだろ。なあ。
Well, Takuru being a gentleman now, apparently. But Yamazoe only shrank back even further and started to mumble.
いえ、私は特に意見とかないので。すみません。
It's understandable. After all, Uki wasn't really involved so much with the actual cases. However, with the Gigalomaniac research at AH Tokyo General Hospital, that is another matter entirely.
いや、別に謝らなくてもいいけどさ。
I could see the corners of her eyes were getting wet, so I quickly waved my hands in apology. At this rate, it really would feel like I was bullying her. In the end, I couldn't think of anything else to say, so I fell silent. Things are
それじゃあ、
just
タク、のんちゃん、ウキちゃん、また明日ね。
things are just unfolding far too smoothly. On that front, I think I'm going to call it an episode. So when we return, adventurers, maybe if Takuru is clever enough, he can try and piece together things and figure out just what the hell is happening here without catching Kurusu's attention, obviously, and incurring her wrath. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.